Hey guys, welcome back to Seduce Me, the Otomi. This is Matthew Yuzuru, and Diana has just walked in on the boys and ourselves. So yeah, let's get on with it. At last, we saw Diana by the entrance of the kitchen, juggling a single red apple in her hand as she leaned against the archway. The boys quickly surrounded me, glaring at the intruder.
So, you took up a human name as well.
Beautiful name, isn't it? Well, for a human name, anyway.
What the hell do you want?
To bring you back, of course. However, you weren't supposed to know that I was coming. I completely forgot about that little mind-reading ability. My mistake.
Diana pushed off from the archway and walked towards us, making the boys step closer to me in a protective circle. Diana laughed.
My. What has the world come to? A group of demons protecting a human girl? I'll tell you right now, she's not that pretty. And from what I can tell, she's still a virgin.
My face grew red in complete anger and embarrassment. How dare she? Oh, hell no. I stepped up, gently pushing the boys away to face Diana. I was furious, and she was about to feel my wrath. You are in my house, you are an intruder, and you have no power here.
Oh, really? Do I have to remind you of the power I have, dear?
With a snap of the finger, my mind suddenly locked up and I felt blank. I could see the world around me, but I lost control of my body. The boys quickly formed around me, with James gripping onto Diana's wrist in anger.
You will leave this instant.
Or what? You'll kill me? I completely dare you to.
Let me do it. I could use the workout.
Don't.
The boys looked at Damien while Diana smirked with a blank stare. I wanted to fight this hold, but her power held me down.
And why not? She wants us to kill her. If she dies, then civil war starts in the demon world.
Very good, sweetie.
What happens in the demon world doesn't concern us anymore. We live here now.
The demons will come to the human world and hunt us down before attacking each other.
The demons will come to the human world, all because of her?
You sneaky bitch.
With another snap Diana's fingers, I was released from her hold, almost buckling to my knees.
Well, will you all change your minds? I assure you, it's for the greater good.
I expected the boys to say no. What I heard was complete silence. None of the boys replied to Diana, which made me both nervous and fearful as to why Diana leaned her back against the big back, surprised for a different reason.
No. Well, I see.
Was silence truly them saying no to her? I looked around to the boys and saw disobedience in their eyes, giving me the answer. I felt my heart flutter, especially when my eyes landed on Matthew. He kept close to me, glaring daggers into Diana. I could feel what he was completely adamant in his choice to stay. I don't know what, but I was incredibly happy to know he wanted to stay. Diana sighed and pressed a finger against her temple, rubbing it gently.
Either all of you are playing a very convincing hard-to-get game, or you all must be out of your minds.
Diana then looked at me, locking her gaze with mine as if to read me. I could tell she wanted me to do something, but the boys wouldn't stop her, so the stare was only her available option. After a small moment of silence, Diana licked her lips before breaking the gaze battle and smiling to the boys around me.
Very well. I guess I'll take my leave now.
What, her leave? Was she serious? The boys around me straightened up and grew confused looks on their faces as Diana stepped back and away from us with a small bow flaunting her cleavage. With another word, a deep purple pentagram appeared under her feet, and Diana's body slowly sank into the floor. As her head vanished into the floor, the pentagram vanished. At once the boys relaxed and slowly began to return to their spots at the table, each in deep thought.
She'll be back, but she won't kill us. She needs us alive.
Whatever. We'll just keep saying no. She can't force us to come back.
She can't do anything but annoy us. Eventually she'll give up.
That's the hope anyway.
Hopefully. Matthew walked over me and held my hand gently, looking at me with a smile.
Everything will be okay. Promise.
I nodded, feeling that he was telling the truth, or at least a hopeful and comforting thought, and smiled back. Matthew gently leaned close to me and kissed my cheek, however making me blush and forget what I was thinking about. The sound of collective chuckles and playful snickers whispered through the air, making me blush. even more. But the laughter soon stopped as Sam let out an oof after a fluffy object collided with his face. I looked to see Matthew with a glaring at his brothers holding a fluffy anime plushie. He and I pulled away quickly from each other just as the sound of Naomi's car appeared. I quickly ate my food, waved at the boys, and left. Never ever say that nothing will happen before the day is over. I avoided talking about the ride back home yesterday, saying that the ride was one thing. I'll be riding with you guys from now on, to and from school. The girls seemed very happy. We entered the classroom, quickly gathered our things from our lockers, and headed to class. There was no events to our surprise. History wasn't exactly fun, but our teacher was great. At least he would be great if he was in class that day. Naomi and Zuzu took their seats around me, Zuzu in front of me and Naomi beside me, before the class began. Bell ring, and the class was greeted by the dean.
Students, you'll be having a substitute for class today. Everyone meet
Miss Diana.
My heart stopped. The door was the dean, with Diana. Looking over the students and smirking as her eyes landed on me, she strutted to the teacher's desk, ignoring or welcoming the whispers from the other students before sitting on the wood and crossing her legs.
Thank you, Dean. You can go now.
With a wave of Diana's hand, the dean left the classroom, closed the door, and left the area. Diana smiled at us, making my stomach turn. What was she going to do?
So, history. History. Such a silly thing, isn't it? I mean, what do we care about the past? We're in the present.
The rest of the class, including Naomi and Susan, had nodded in agreement, unsure about this new teacher, but willing to listen to more about what she had to say.
The present is so full of wonderful things. While the labors of the past are the reason we have many things, it is our chance and privilege to utilize what has been given to us.
Her charm was almost infectious. The class was practically starting to eat out of her hand. I looked around to see the classmates grinning and agreeing with her. I pressed my lips together. As I listened further, I had no choice.
What's even funnier about human beings is that some of the bits of history we hear is either made up or completely biased to one side. It's like a story you read as a child. You hear of the princess and the prince, and they live happily ever after. But what about the family she left behind? What of her friends?
The students listened and agreed intently to her words. I could tell, however, that these words were all targeted
The
at me.
original story of The Little Mermaid, a perfect example of biased opinion. Here we have a girl who thinks she can be with this prince, but this prince has to marry a princess. What would happen if the mermaid had her way? What makes the mermaid so important that the princess has to suffer the consequences?
It doesn't matter what happens to the princess. The rest of the class turned their heads to me. Naomi and Zuzu looked at me with equally surprised looks, but I kept my eyes at Diana. If I was the mermaid, I wasn't going to let the princess take my prince away. Diana stared at me before smiling and turning her body to fully face me.
Oh? And why does it not matter?
The story isn't about the princess. The story is about the mermaid and the prince.
Ah, but that is exactly my point. While the story talks about the mermaid and the prince's romance, we don't see the problems of the kingdom the prince rules. While we are all fixated with this love story, we ignore the fact the kingdom would fall apart without the marriage between the prince and princess.
She kept her eyes on me as she spoke. I knew she wanted to make her words stick in my mind, but I didn't listen. It was one thing to be a fictional story, it was another to try and ruin someone's life for selfishness. Diana chuckled and looked back to the class.
Well, luckily in the real story of The Little Mermaid, the mermaid knows that what she was doing was wrong, and she threw herself into the ocean, turning into sea foam.
Some of the students that surrounded me mumbled in surprise, obviously not knowing the real story. However, Diana was wrong once again. That's not true. Once again, the class looked at me and Diana faced me with another smile.
Not true. How so?
The trade-off for her becoming human was marrying the prince or turning into sea foam. However, she was given the choice to kill the prince and turn back into a mermaid. The mermaid didn't because she loved him and sacrificed herself for that love. Sorry, guys. That is the story worth telling, not some princess getting her way, but of a tragedy that had been fallen on a girl who only wanted love. The class applauded me, with Caesar giving me her usual punch to the shoulder, and Naomi smiling at my logic. Diana, however, finally grew an almost angered face at me.
Interesting. So what you are saying is that the princess should be given no mind.
The story is not about the princess. The story is about the mermaid, and the mermaid should have gotten her prince.
Even at the risk of a kingdom falling apart?
Even if the entire world fell apart around them, duty does not overrule love. The princess needs to realize this. The applause that followed that intensified. With the whoops and hollers, I felt a wave of confidence roll through my body. Diana wasn't going to win, and I wasn't going to let her. Diana then stopped talking and looked to the clock on the wall, reading quickly. This class had barely begun. Why was she looking at the time? Diana then leaned against the blackboard and smiled to us. I became worried.
You know what? School isn't important. Everyone, go ahead and head home. Take the week off.
The students suddenly began to chat happily, or in confusion of the situation. Many thought it was a dream come true. Others knew better. Before anyone could protest, however, Diana pressed a finger to her lips and counted down with her fingers in the air. 3, 2, 1. The speakers of the classroom gently awoke, giving us an announcement we would never believe.
Attention students. Due to an emergency faculty meeting, we will be closing school for the remainder of the day and this entire week. Please leave the school quickly and quietly and have a good rest of the week.
She used her powers on them. Damn it. I felt the need to stop her, but how could I stop a demon in the middle of a public area? Diana smiled before gesturing to the door.
Have a nice week off. School will resume next week.
Many of the students followed out, chatting to each other about new important plans. Zizi was beyond happy, but Naomi was hesitant before we could pack up and leave. However, Diana stepped up to us.
Excuse me, little miss. I'd like you to stay a little while. There's something we need to discuss.
As Diana looked to Zuzu and Naomi, she snapped her fingers, making my friends tense up.
You two can head home. Don't worry about your friend until next week, okay? If you contact her, she won't reply, so don't bother. If she contacts you, ignore her, because she's just fine.
As if command, Zuzu and Naomi left the room. I tried to march after them, but Diana stepped in my path, warning me with her eyes that I followed. There would be hell to pay. I had lost my two friends, at least for a week, and Diana and I were alone, just like she wanted. I slammed my hands on the desk in front of me and glared at Diana. What are you doing and what are you thinking?
What? Do I not make a good teacher? I figured you should have a little lesson, so I took matters into my own hands.
Whatever you're trying to do won't work.
You really think so, dear? And what makes you so sure about that?
What was making me so sure? Why was I confident? Were the boys worth this? My thoughts began to fill with doubt. All the uncertainties about this whole ordeal began to cloud my mind. If the boys were ever found out, there'd be hell to pay. Was it worth it? What about Diana? What would she do to me? Would she make my parents forget me completely? Would she ruin my friends' lives out of spite? In my gut, I felt a stone of confidence try to fight back, but the heaviness of my thoughts began to dissolve to the stone little by little. What was going on with me? I looked up at Diana once again to see her gaze boring into my eyes. She was using her powers on me. This time I was away from home, so I couldn't escape. Or could I? Did I want to? The way she stared at me made me feel warm and fuzzy inside my chest. I felt like melting. Diana lifted a hand underneath my chin and rained her thumb over my lips. Licking her own, I could feel the little shots of energy zipping from underneath my skin into my chin where she held me.
Now, let's have a little taste of that sweet, virginal sexual energy.
I watched as she leaned in, ready to kiss me and take my energy. Half of my body felt electric to the idea. The other half completely rejected it and didn't want her to even touch me. Matthew. Suddenly, Diana stopped in her tracks.
Matthew? Who is...
It then dawned on her.
Ah, one of the boys. Why don't you tell me which boy is Matthew?
I felt myself nod in compliance. The fourth. Diana giggled in reply before letting go of my face and stepping back.
Really? The child? With you?
I nodded once again, but this time it was partially my own decision to reply. Diana let out a sound that mimicked a cat's purr before stepping away from me.
All right, then. Well, if it's the fourth son you're infatuated with, you should really rethink your romantic options.
Diana chuckled before kissing my nose, where I felt a shot of energy zap out of my body, almost making me dizzy to recoil. Diana then turned to the desk and sat on the wood, crossing her legs.
You can go now. Remember, no class for the rest of the week.
And how am I supposed to get home? My two friends left me here thanks to you?
Oh, were they your ride? My apologies. Let me help then.
Diana then lifted her hand and snapped her fingers. I suddenly felt the floor sink from underneath me, forcing me to look down. A purple pentagram surrounded my feet, pulling me into the ground. Whoa! Before I could fight, however, I sank fully into the floor, fading into darkness and shutting my eyes. As I opened them, I felt my silk sheets around me, soothing my anxiety from the darkness that had previously surrounded me. What the? Why did Diana bring me home? Was this all an illusion? Was I being tricked? Something was going on. I sat up in my bed, looked around me. I was indeed in my room. There was no mistake about that. Why? Diana is too strange. Was this a game? Was this part of her plan to get the boys back? I was lost and confused more than ever, despite my logical thought trying to piece the puzzle that Diana had together. The more I tried to solve her, the less I understood about the situation I was in. I was interrupted, however, by my door suddenly opening, revealing the boys with Damien's hand on the doorknob.
Miss, what are you doing here?
Aren't you supposed to be in school?
I furrowed my eyebrows and stared at Damien, asking him to answer their questions through my thoughts.
Diana sent her back here. She invaded her school and sent all the students back home.
What is that bitch up to? Seriously! Diana's playing around for no reason.
Maybe it's part of her plan.
The boys continued to argue back and forth about Diana, fueling an almost jealousy curiosity in me. Damien seemed to be too deep within the talk to have noticed my thoughts, for he didn't even stop talking alongside his brothers. Why was Diana after them? Why did she want to bring them back? What was so important about the boys that she would want to travel to the human world to get them? What was going on? I decided enough was enough. I needed answers. Hey! The boys stopped arguing, staring at me in surprise. I held my hands in fists on my lap, mustering the courage to continue to speak despite my blunt shout. Why is Diana here? Why does she want to bring you all back? What exactly did you all run from? Why did you run from it?
Miss,
Don't miss me, please. I need to know what's going on. I won't be left in the dark about this. I need to know what I'm facing. The boys looked at each other hesitantly, unsure of what to reply. Finally, Sam pushed Damien towards the bed, making him buckle and land on his knees with his torso over the edge of the mattress.
Damien, do the thing.
The thing? What thing?
Sam, you're not suggesting.
Why not? She deserves to know everything, especially if Diana is targeting her.
Sam's right.
I guess we have no choice then.
I was getting confused. What was Damien about to do? Damien stood before climbing onto the bed with me, sitting across from me on his knees.
We're going to show you everything. You have to trust me, okay? The minute you stop trusting me, the vision will stop.
Vision?
It'll be okay. Just trust him.
I looked to Matthew, unsure of what was going on, but I nodded. If this was the only way to learn, then this was my only chance. Damien gently placed his hands on each side of my head, gently pressing his thumbs into the skin above my eyebrows. I could only stare at Damien as his eyes began to glow gold and energy began to pull and out of force into my head. Within seconds, my vision went black once again. I was unsure of what happened. Damien was doing, but soon shapes and textures slowly began to appear around me. I found myself sitting on the stone floor in the middle of what looked like a fantasy throne room. Where am I? I looked down at myself to stand only to see my body as translucent as a ghost. Whoa! I jumped up and inspected my hands in sudden panic. I was see-through. Why? What was going on?
How dare they try to negotiate with me? Do they not know whom they speak to?
I gasped and ran behind a nearby pillar away from the voice. The sound of this anger and words frightened every bone in my body, turning me into a frightened child.
My lord, please calm yourself.
Calm? They're merely testing my resolve. I have more than half of a mind to send my greatest armies to take what should be mine. They are mere insects in the way of my kingdom's expansion.
They merely asked for a marriage joining.
So I'm to bow to them and share my land that I have so rightfully conquered?
I peeked from behind the pillar to see a large demon covered in royal clothes, but buff enough to be a military commander. His rage particularly emanated from his body as he growled at his servant.
They are willing to give their land to you, sire. All they ask is for one of your sons to marry their daughter, whom I might add is as beautiful as can be.
This is ridiculous. To suggest that I need their approval to take their land is beyond insanity. What makes them think I care about their precious daughter?
Did I mention that she is a prodigy of her kind, sire?
A prodigy?
Yes, my lord. This succubus is a master of her skills in magic and mind manipulation. She is said to sway armies with a snap of her fingers, despite being as young as she is.
Impossible!
If only it were, sire. This succubus is dangerous, but would be a great asset to have should we agree to this arrangement. The only reason she cannot phase you, my lord, is because you are the strongest demon in the plains.
Is this supposed to change my mind?
Yes, my lord.
You are doing a
I
terrible
like that.
job.
Is this supposed to
at
change my
convincing
mind?
me.
Yes, it's supposed to change your mind.
My apologies, sire.
I was lost. I could tell that they were talking about Diana, but why?
Father,
I quickly turned my head to see another demon, who looked like a mere child, staring at the demon commander on the throne. Father?
Ah, Raystrow, have you finished your training?
yes, Father.
Then what do you want?
I want to be with my brothers the rest of the day, Father.
The demon commander walked to the young demon and gripped his hair, picking him up off the ground and forcing him to look up at his snarl. The young demon, however, looked unfazed.
Huh. Arrogance. Why should I allow you to be with them? I should kill you for your lack of respect to me.
Because I want to be with them, Father.
I could only stare at the young demon face to his father. Despite the massive difference between them, this young demon seemed weaker and easier to kill versus the demon commander. Why would this man kill his son, though? Was this commander that ruthless? However, I was expecting him to laugh and release the young demon.
Good! Assertive even in the face of danger. That is why you are my favorite son.
I could only stare wide-eyed at the commander, placed his hands on the demon's shoulders.
Very well. Go. Tomorrow, you will show me your training.
The little demon grinned widely before running off.
I have a thought.
Yes, my lord.
How old is this daughter?
As old as your 5th, sire.
Do you believe this proposal is worth it?
Yes, sire.
Tell those insects that they are safe for now. I will consider their offer.
Sire, are you certain?
Did I stutter? Now go!
The demon's servant quickly ran off, but as soon as he passed the pillar I was hiding behind, he, along with the commander, vanished into thin air. What the? What had happened, I didn't get the time to try and figure out, but before the demon, who looked around my age, walked into the room reading a book. Is that...
Raystrow, your nose is stuck in those books. Will you not lift your head up from them once in a while?
Heard that voice? I circled around the pillar to see a second demon leaning against another pillar who was smirking at Raystrow.
Aren't you supposed to be with your mother practicing the harpsichord?
I am, but I had a feeling that you were in danger.
In danger? What are you...
Attack!
All of a sudden, 3 shadows zipped through the room and slammed into Raystrow, forcing him to fall on the ground and drop his book. As the sight cleared before me, There were 3 other demons in a dug pile with Raistra at the bottom.
Get up!
No way! You haven't had a break in months from those stupid butts. It's time for punishment!
Death by brotherhood!
No more reading!
I told you that you were in danger.
I suddenly knew who these demons were. It's the boys. Even in the demon world, the brotherly connection was astounding. They were merely younger versions of themselves. One of the demons, who I assumed was Matthew, grabbed the book from the floor and opened it, reading it
How
mockingly.
can you read this, Raistero? It's all about war strategy. It's boring.
I have to, Zakaru. Get off!
There's only one thing you need to know about strategy. Kill them all! Take no prisoners!
You sound just like father.
I couldn't help but giggle. It was cute to see them acting childish with each other around. Eventually, James managed to push his brothers off him and started brushing himself off.
You all are reckless.
At least we have fun.
It's true. You haven't been with us in weeks. Don't you think it's time for a break?
I'm sure Father won't mind.
But I have to...
I know you want to, Raystrao.
Damn it.
What is going on here?
Oh shit. I shot my head to the voice to see the commander, aged a little, staring at the boys with his arms across his chest. Damien quickly dashed and hid behind Sam, peeking over his shoulder to see the large commander.
Nothing is going on. We just passed by each other.
Then why does your brother have your book?
I was showing him what I was learning, Father.
Return to your studies, Ray Stroud. The rest of you out of my sight. Do not disturb your brother again.
I could only stare as James gently took his book and, without looking at his brothers, returned to reading. The commander walked past the remaining brothers, growling at Sam and Damien before leaving the room. What was up with that?
Don't worry about it. We'll find a way to get him back.
I don't know. He's on a very tight leash.
Ezra, you're quiet. What did you hear?
He's going to a negotiation meeting. He's going to arrange a marriage.
A marriage? For who?
It must be for one of us.
He hasn't decided who will marry her. It's a girl from a kingdom he wants to take over.
But that's uncharacteristic of him. Usually he'd just attack with the army.
Whatever the case is, one of us is getting married.
I hope it isn't me.
What about Raystrao? He's the eldest.
It would make sense, but having a succubus marrying one of us means that she'll be practically married to all of us.
Well, what should we do?
Before the conversation could continue, the boys vanished into thin air, fading into different colours of mist. They were replaced by an older Damien and Matthew sitting with each other in the middle of the throne room.
Do you think we should?
I really want to.
I want to as well. Still, it'll be hard to convince Raistero, since he's the one about to be married, and he's the favorite.
We don't know that, Zakeru. Maybe she's set to marry you.
No way! I don't want to get married.
I don't think you'll have a problem with that baby face of yours.
I looked over to Sam during the duo, crossing his arms and raising an eyebrow at his brothers.
What are you two talking about?
We got into contact with the human world again.
Come on, Ezreal. Give humans too much attention.
No way! You gotta listen! They apparently have stores and books and schools and stuff!
So what? It's full of humans who piss on each other for no reason. They're no better than the devil spawn.
Nuh-uh! The one we were talking to wasn't like that!
How do you know, Zakeru?
Because I do!
What is going on here?
They want to go to the human world.
The human world?
Raistero, think about it. You won't have to marry that girl and be the heir anymore. You could be with us, and we can make lives for ourselves in the new world.
Now you're just talking nonsense.
I vote that we do it.
Huh? Oh, not you two.
Think about it. This may be our chance to finally get away from this political nonsense we're stuck in. We may be nobles, but we're still our own beings.
Raystrao is in.
What? Ezreal!
Whoa! So how do we get there?
Are you kidding me? You don't even know how we'd get there.
A simple spell should work, but it would require someone from the human world to help us get there.
We can ask him.
Oh, he'd definitely help us.
I'm not so sure about...
Raistra, aren't you tired of pleasing Father all of the time?
I am, but...
If you stay, you'll be married off and become ruler of Father's kingdom. You'll have no time for yourself or with us, and you'll be constantly at war with the other realms for power. You'll most likely turn into the spitting image of Father.
What he's saying is, get your head out of your ass and let's go. If you don't say yes, I'll drag your princely ass with us. I don't care what that bastard of a father wants.
Come on, Raistro!
All right, let's do this. What's the plan?
I couldn't believe what was happening. I was seeing the history of their lives before my eyes. They were nobles, and James was the heir to the kingdom of the commander ruled. Even more so, he was going to be married to Diana. They sacrificed everything to leave and be together. They'd rather be free than remain in their noble roles. I started to feel a little jealous. They were able to leave while I was still expected to be what my father wanted me to be. How they were able to leave was uncertain still, but I knew I would learn in time. I closed my eyes and mentally asked Damien to end the vision. As soon as I asked, the world around me slowly vanished, and I was brought back to the bedroom where I sat, with my head nestled in Damien's hands. My vision became clear, letting me fully see the boys around me, all with concerned faces.
So, you now know exactly who we are.
Diana is the girl you were arranged to marry.
Not anymore. Once we left, the arrangement was broken. With no sons to marry off, her dad couldn't go through with the marriage deal.
If Diana is here for us, that means she's trying to save her kingdom from being attacked.
That's not true. She wants to rule our kingdom. Having one of us will give her the right to our kingdom, as much as we'd have right over hers.
So she's a gold digger!
Yes, Matthew, she's a gold digger.
Well, with a kingdom like ours, what succubus wouldn't want to marry us for it?
It all made sense. She wanted them so that she could finally take over an opposing kingdom. She knew that despite her powers, she wouldn't be able to fight against their father. And she had to find another way in. That manipulative little fuck. Before I could continue, I felt my head suddenly get heavy and dizzy. I gripped my head and mewling under my breath. What the?
I took too much. I'm so sorry.
Rest now. There's no need to do anything more today.
The boys suddenly rushed over and helped me lay back down as my vision was painted with white polka dots. I nodded sleepily, badly. Instantly, I closed my eyes and let the darkness consume me. After what seemed like hours, I finally woke up. Suddenly, slightly refreshed, my body knew that if I slept any longer, I'd be up all night, which was no part of the plan for the day. I rubbed my eyes and sat up, letting a soft groan escape my lips. In response, something beside my bed shuffled, causing me to look over. I didn't know what I was expecting. Beside me, sitting in the chair beside the bed, was Matthew, rousing himself up to see me awake. I smiled at him, seeing him slightly ruffled his hair and tired eyes.
Oh, you're awake. How do you feel?
Yep, I feel better. Matthew nodded before he looked down at the bed, taking my hands into his.
I'm really sorry. I'm really, really sorry.
Matthew, it's not your fault.
No, please listen. I know that Diana and Malix have come after you because of us, so it's our fault that you're constantly in danger. If I hadn't convinced everyone to come to the human world, we would have never been attacked by Malix and hunted down and brought you in danger and...
I quickly reached over and put my finger to his lips, stopping him from going any further. I didn't want to hear anymore. Matthew, it's okay. I wanted to help you out. I offered to let you all stay. Nothing is your fault. I gently moved my hand and cut Matthew's cheek, staring at him with concern. I didn't want him to hold guilt in his mind about this whole ordeal. Diana was desperate and she would hurt anyone for them. It wasn't his fault she was desperate enough to hunt them. However, I grew curious. So, Matthew, you're a noble. Matthew looked at me and gave me a goofy smile.
I was once, but even if I had the title, I didn't really feel like a noble.
How come?
Well, I was the fourth noble son of the Demon Lord. With Eric and Sam ahead of me in case James couldn't fulfill his duties, there was no way I was getting the throne. So, I spent the majority of my time trying to make my mother happy. She was always unhappy.
Unhappy? How come?
Well, my dad was kind of... well, he married 4 different women. Each of us came from a different mother, and my mother was the last to be married and bear a son. The thing with succubi, though, is that they get jealous very easily.
That is true. So what happened?
The other wives got mad and scorned each other. It wasn't violent, but we never ate together for a reason. My mom, though, was too proud to have jealousy. She was the last woman the Demon Lord married, so she felt important. She felt that because he stopped marrying, she had the charm to stop his marrying spree.
Matthew let out a small laugh, a hint of depression lingering in the breath he let out.
But then the Demon Lord took another woman and she bore him a son outside of wedlock. Damien. The wives, including my mother, were furious. In response, the Demon Lord had a spell cast on them, turning them into spiritual orbs.
That's horrible. Matthew nodded, pressing his lips together in both agreement and
They
sadness.
could never have physical form, and they lost all their powers. They became slaves trapped in the Demon Lord's castle. However, they were kept alive to make sure their sons grew up to be competent demons.
I'm sorry. Matthew gently shrugged, letting a small nostalgic smile grace his lips.
She taught me how to be a demon, though. Not just a demon, a grown, adult demon. I read books, I learned strategy, everything that James was doing under the Demon Lord's watch. Only, I trained with just my mother. She wanted me to surprise the Demon Lord one last time, and maybe take the throne away from James.
Matthew then reached into his pocket and took out a small mirror.
Here, I'll show you.
Matthew handed it to me and sent a wave of blue mist into it. It began to glow until it enveloped. Oh my god, words! The room and the bright light. Oh my god, I could not do words today. When the light had subsided, I was back in the main hall of the demon castle. I looked around, feeling unable to move, but I could practically see everything as clear as it was before. However, my focus gathered on Matthew, sitting on the throne as if it was reading his and reading a book. Oh my god. For some reason, Matthew reminded me of James at that moment. He seemed engrossed in his reading each word and observing each meaning. Him on the throne surprisingly fit him. There was something about him.
This is an easy read.
A saddened cry, however, echoed through the hall, forcing Matthew to stop, close the book, and stand from the throne.
Mother?
I looked around, confused at the cry, and where it was coming from. It seemed to just echo through the room, without any sort of direction. Matthew sighed and placed the book on the armrest of the throne before he cupped his hands together.
Fly and comfort her, will you?
As Matthew opened his hands, a small bird with blue and purple feathers perked from the hiding place. Matthew smiled before releasing it into the air. As I watched it fly off and glide its way to the upper archway, the sound of its flapping wings faded into the air as it flew further into the castle.
Come on.
I could tell that Matthew was holding his breath. He must have cared very deeply for his mother. It was incredibly sweet. At last the sound of the crying stopped, making Matthew release a happy sigh.
There we go.
Matthew cracked his knuckles in approval and reached for his book. However, before he could even graze over the cover of his fingers, the sound of pattering entered the room.
You, what son? Away from the throne!
All right.
What am I going to do with you? You're a child.
Matthew glared at the servant as the servant quickly brushed the throne off, like there was dust all over it.
The next time I see you on the throne, I will inform the Demon Lord. Understand?
Yes.
The demon servant continued to brush over the throne before knocking the book from the armrest. Matthew froze as the servant quickly padded over and picked it up.
What is this? A book? Why do you have it?
I was reading.
You read? You don't need to read. You're never going to need knowledge for anything, fourth son.
I saw Matthew's eye twitch, making me grimace. The servant sure had a mouth. It was annoying at the very least.
I'll just take this book and bring it to the heir himself to read. He's reading faster than the library can provide.
But that's...
Raestro's next area of study.
The servant began to walk away, ignoring Matthew's glare of anger. The servant stopped, however, to look at Matthew, to pound one more nail into the wound.
Let's face it, kid. You have the smallest horns, the smallest frame, and the least amount of power among the noble sons. You'll never be like them, so just stop trying. Use your incubus powers on others who have a child fetish or something.
The demon looked at Matthew up and down before rushing off wherever he had come from. As the servant disappeared, Matthew summoned a knife and chucked it in the direction where the servant left. The knife embedded itself into the hard stone beside the door into the hall.
I hate that guy. Disgusting pig fawn.
Matthew walked over and sat on the foot of the throne, clearly aggravated. Eventually Matthew stopped the magic, lowering the mirror and holding it in his hands before looking at me.
I had hoped to show you my mother, but I guess the mirror wanted to show you something else. Sorry.
That serpent is terrible.
Tell me about it. He served the Demon Lord almost his whole life. Ugly pig fawn.
Matthew laughed while I laughed at the insult. It was good to see Matthew in good spirits despite what was shown and what was happening around us. Still, it was sad to see that he was considered the child of the noble sons. He could read books of knowledge that his brother hadn't read, and he seemed caring. It was insulting to see someone tear him down like that. Matthew smiled at me before pocketing the mirror.
Whatever. Thankfully we got out of there, so I could be with my brothers like a normal family. No hierarchies, no politics, no pig funds, nothing.
I smiled. It was good that he saw a positive attitude. However, his face slowly turned to a sad one before he looked down at the bed. Matthew?
You've done a lot for me and my brothers. Sheltering us, letting us continue to live here. It may not seem like much, but for us it's everything. But I don't want you to get hurt because of us.
I watched speechless silence as Matthew lifted his head, his eyes full of almost hopelessness.
That's why I'm sorry.
Matthew lowered his head in shame. I couldn't help but feel my heart squeeze within my chest at the sight. He truly cared. Matthew let out a small sigh before looking to me with a new smile. He hid his sadness well, but I could tell that he was still upset about the whole deal.
Alright. You need to sleep and I need to make dinner. I'll wake you up when dinner is done.
Matthew gently pressed me back down onto the bed, resolved in what had happened. Still a kiss. I couldn't let him leave without doing something. I quickly pulled Matthew down to me, lifted my head and gently kissed him, softly laying a hand on his cheek to keep his face close. Matthew stared in deep surprise before hesitantly kissing me back, caressing my cheek, a slight melting at the touch of my lips. A soft sigh escaped his lips before he slowly pulled away with a smile. He gently licked his lips, making me go red in the face at the surprised gesture. He let out a satisfied sigh before nuzzling my forehead.
Go to sleep.
And with that, he stood up and left the room, leaving me to rest as per his request. I smiled to myself before relaxing into the mattress. That isn't until we hear fucking Diana. I suddenly tensed up. I felt majorly uneasy. Something wasn't right. I felt it in my core. She must be here. The thought of her in the house infuriated me beyond belief. I had to make sure she was not here. I rolled out of bed and quickly left my room, wandering the halls and listening closely. She was a demon, but I was listening very intently. There was no way she would have been able to sneak up on me. I know you're here. Where are you? I could feel myself growl. It wasn't a matter of fear that she'd take away the boys anymore. Her very existence had lit a fire of rage within my gut, which only grew as each day went by. This feud was getting on my nerves, and I knew it would not be the end of one of us. I wasn't going to lose to that demon bitch.
Leave me alone.
My heart stopped. Diana was with Matthew? My mind flew slowly into motion, playing fake images of Diana trying to seduce Matthew in my head to further fan the anger flame inside me. I instinctively followed Matthew's voice, and I was approaching the grand lobby, and followed the commotion to the dining room. The sound was echoing from the kitchen, so I peeked inside while hiding around the corner. I almost growled at the sight. Matthew was holding to one of the sides of the kitchen aisles counter, with Diana holding the other side, looking to him with a smirk.
Oh, come on, Matthew. Don't you like games? A game of tag sounds so fun.
Not with you. Now go away.
I'm hurt. Wounded, truly. Did I go too far?
You went too far when you came here and attacked her.
Pity. And here I thought I was going to offer you the chance to become something better than just a simple incubus.
What was Diana going on about? More than just an incubus? Was she insane?
How about becoming the next Demon Lord?
I froze. What did she mean? Becoming the next demon lord? The boys weren't into the demon world and in the demon world anymore. They had no claim to the throne anymore. Matthew stared at Diana, which made me worry.
The next demon lord?
Well, currently, I'm the contracted bride to the heir to the throne. Since the throne is open, it's available to any son of the Demon Lord's line. Think about it. You'll gain the throne, the land, and a bride to continue your lineage with. Doesn't that sound like a perfect life for an incubus like you? You'll show your father and mother how grown up you are, that you're not just some little cute boy people can take for granted.
I could feel myself gripping my fists tightly in anger. How dared this girl try and convince Matthew to return to the demon world? He ran away from it. He didn't have to go back. He shouldn't go back. My mind began to wonder, imagining him saying yes. He would leave and the brothers would follow to bring him back. They'd be trapped because of Diana. Diana would make sure they could never leave. Matthew would then be the new demon lord. Diana is his queen and I'd lose him.
Like I would believe you.
You don't need to believe me, Matthew. You just need to come back home with me. I promise, you'll be respected as you were supposed to be.
I'm not falling for it.
Fall for what? The truth? The truth is that your brothers still treat you like a child, even though the demon world is far behind you. The truth is that your little human love affair is fleeting. She can never see you as a man, just as a little boy who wants to grow up.
Stop it!
I stared at Matthew, chuckled, chucked a handful of noise at Diana, who ducked and dodged them with ease. They dug themselves into the tile wall before fading away as if they didn't exist.
You dare attack me?
I'm not going back. And that is final!
I could see Matthew's muscles tense and flex, wanting to attack Diana. The girl in question, however, took a deep breath and looked at Matthew with a pleading look.
You won't even return to your mother? She's been crying ever since you left.
Do not bring her into this!
Matthew glared as Diana circled the aisle towards him.
She begged me to bring you back. She wants you to get what you deserve. The throne.
I don't believe you!
Matthew then walked away from Diana, heading to the fridge to start dinner as if she wasn't there. Diana stopped and leaned against the counter.
She'll never love you, you know.
I don't mind. I care for her.
The human girl? You must be joking. A human like her can't possibly provide you what you need. She's a human. You're a demon.
I felt the urge to storm in and shut her mouth. It would give away my position, but I was growing extremely tired of Diana. So I barged in and set her straight. I decided to be assertive and quickly stepped into the room, rushing to be at the front of Matthew. Diana and Matthew looked at me surprised as I glared daggers at Diana. Get out.
Well, well, little human. You're awfully nosy in business that doesn't concern you.
It does concern me.
Does it? I don't think a human would understand the importance of this affair.
You're asking him to leave to be someone he doesn't want to be? That's not going to happen.
Oh? And what makes you so sure about that?
I love him. Diana stared at shock at my exclamation. Was it not what she expected? I didn't care what she expected. I was going to lose the man I had grown to love.
You love him?
Yes, I love him. Diana's lips twitched, the edge curling into an amused smirk as she stared at me.
So what? A human's love isn't enough to understand the situation. A demon can never reciprocate human feeling.
To both of our surprise, however, Matthew stepped forward and put an arm around me, pulling me close to his body.
I love her.
I saw the confidence in Diana shatter, and she stared at Matthew. I could see the struggle in her face to try and find some weakness in Matthew and in me. Anything, really.
A demon love a human? Impossible.
You
Says
heard
you,
me.
but in the root you
I
can
love her,
actually love you.
Diana. I'd do anything for her. And she cares for me more than anyone in the abyssal plane ever had. More than you'll ever know. She makes me feel like the adult I'm supposed to be. And there's nothing you can do to change that. Ever.
Diana took a step back, physically feeling the sting of Matthew's words in her chest. She had lost. I could see it in her eyes. Diana's eyes grew dull as she glared at me and Matthew. It seemed almost uncharacteristic of her, yet it was something I wasn't surprised to see come from her face.
Very well. Fine. Valet.
And with that, Diana faded into the ground, in a purple pentagram, crossing her arms, almost looking upset. Matthew and I were left alone, left with the silence of the room. I finally let out the air that I was unconsciously holding in my chest, relaxing from the ordeal. Matthew stepped up to me and held me gently, surprising me.
Are you alright?
I nodded in response, unable to speak so immediately after being surprised. Matthew let out a sigh, relaxing in the embrace. I gently placed my hands around him, returning the embrace slightly. I could hear Matthew's heartbeat. He held me close into his arms, and I felt safe beyond words. Are you okay?
Of course I'm okay. I'm holding you.
I looked up at Matthew, surprised at what he said. Matthew blushed, moving a strand of my hair away from my face to look down at me.
You mean so much to me. You make me feel like more than just a kid. I've never felt this happy before with anyone. And here you are giving me every reason to love you. I love you so friggin' much.
I stared wide-eyed, blushing like a maniac. Was this real? No way, this couldn't be real. Was Matthew confessing to me? Confessing his love for me? Matthew gently caressed my cheek, staring into my eyes with a loving, almost helpful expression. The warmth of his hand invited me to nuzzle into it, closing my eyes. This wasn't a dream. My heart pounded hard enough where I was sure Matthew could hear it. Matthew gently leaned in, closing his eyes. He stopped, however, remaining just a mere tortuous inch away from my lips. He wanted me to show me my feelings for him. He had left himself open for me to kiss him or leave him empty. The power I had was unbelievable. I loved him and wanted to give him exactly what he wanted. I gently leaned in, letting my lips finally touch his gingerly. Matthew let out an almost surprised gasp against my lips before wrapping both of his arms around my waist, pulling me close. I moved my arms up and around his neck, feeling the kiss between us deepen as the heated height. My chest was pounding, making me feel and see fireworks in my mind. Matthew was everything I desired. He was the man I wanted, demon or not. It was so awesome, supernatural to fall in love with someone so quick. Maybe it was the sense of magic I was thrown into. Maybe it was the Cupid playing with my heart. Either way, I found myself melting at the thought of him being with me. I found myself combing my fingers through Matthew's hair, making the man holding me softly tremble at my touch. He gently nibbled on my lower lip, asking me to deepen the kiss between us even further. I easily teased him before finally opening my mouth slightly for him. His tongue gently danced to mine as one of his hands slid up my back and cradled my head. He gently leaned my body back, making me cling to him as the heat of our kiss rose higher and higher. Gently, though, Matthew slowed the kiss down and pulled away, staring down at me. His eyes burned for me, wanting me to melt and buckle into his arms. I could feel myself melt already. Matthew opened his mouth to speak, but a very small blush ran along his cheeks. He was reduced to shy silence. I stared at him and tried to find the words to say in my eyes. I knew exactly what he wanted. He didn't need energy, though, right? Are you?
No, I
stared wide-eyed, feeling a blush on my cheeks grow. He didn't say anything more, but I knew what words would have followed if he continued. He wanted me. I was stunned. Was I that appealing to him? Was this passion really that deep for me? Matthew gently nuzzled my forehead, losing the blush and finally being able to speak.
If you don't want to, we don't have to. I mean, it's up to you.
I could feel my mind go numb and purr at the idea. A moment with an incubus. He was a demon of sex. The pursuit form of lust. The purest form of lust and desire. My world would rock and I would enjoy every second of it. At the same time, I was indeed inexperienced. Diana wasn't wrong when she claimed me to be innocent. Did I want to give that innocence to him, especially this early? I found myself forgetting the words yes and no. What could I say to him? I knew that I wanted to, but how to say it without breaking the moment? Seduce me. The name of the game. I couldn't believe the two words that came out of my mouth. It made the most sense to tell him yes. I needed him. I wanted him. Those 2 words must have made something in him finally break. Matthew gently wrapped his arms around me and went back to kissing me passionately. I could feel energy whizzer about me, making me open one eye to see blue light glowing around us. When the light subsided, I was in my bedroom and on my bed with Matthew above me. I stared as Matthew held a look of both was lust and love. My heart skipped a beat simply from his gaze on me. This was okay. I wanted to see all of him and give myself to him. I gently guided his head to me, kissing him slowly and bringing him further into the mood. Matthew slid both his hoodie and shirt off and tossed them to the side before cradling my head in his hands and kissing me deeply. I felt the heat rise in my body, making me undo the tie underneath my collar and release the buttons on my own shirt. Quickly I removed my shirt and vest, making Matthew stop kissing me and stare in slight surprise. I was simply in my bra, but I could feel the blush invade my cheeks. My shy side began to fester in my mind. Did I really want this? To undress before a demon? No, this was the man I loved, and yet I felt my innocence drape over me in almost shame. I needed to fight it. I quickly rolled between both of us over to where I was sitting on Matthew's lap, staring down at him. Matthew sat up, looking at me with one of the most sexiest smiles I've ever seen. Matthew pulled me close, knowing I was still shy, and began to kiss my lips over and over. Each kiss was with his promise to keep me safe, keep me comfortable, and love me. I kept my arms wrapped around Matthew, taking each kiss he gave and giving him my own kisses in return. I didn't know if it was the fact that we were both top nude, or maybe just craved his touch, but I didn't want him to let go. However, as he held me, I could slightly feel the shiver of his hands. Was I his first? He wasn't going to tell me. He wanted me to enjoy this moment, but was afraid of screwing up. His shivering hands showed me his emotions perfectly. As he laid me down and knelt over me, Matthew smiled and firmly embraced me as we both desired. The pleasure between us would be heavenly, and we'd go through it together. I closed my eyes and gave myself to Matthew. My body, my mind, my soul, it all belonged to him as he held me. His body, his mind, his soul, it all belonged to me as I gave into his embrace. His kisses and fingers over my skin would forever engrave themselves into my memory, as our passion rose through incredible heights. Our breaths and moans to each other equally sounded and echoed like a blissful chant we never wished to end. And I bet all the brothers are going, "Oh fuck, he got the girl." We keep moving, loving, feeling every inch of our bodies, until we had enough and I was enveloped. I can't even say the word. I'd done it again. Enveloped into his embrace. Skin to skin, heartbeats matching, we held each other in the glow of the aftermath. I nuzzled my head into Matthew's chin as he held me close.
I love you.
I love you too. Just to hear those words come from Matthew's mouth made my heart flutter. To hear me answer made my soul warm in glee. I could feel both of us sink into the peaceful sleep together. It was the best sleep I had in days, and I was happy. I had love and I had my happiness. My life was simply perfect. When I opened my eyes, I found myself staring into Matthew's bare chest. I blushed, but looking up to Matthew was still sleeping. His sleeping face made me giggle softly, but the reality of the situation made my heartbeat flutter. I couldn't believe it. I was lying next to the man I had grown to fall in love with all my heart. His warm embrace made me feel safe, and as the tender moment we just shared replayed in my mind, I couldn't help feel a smile and snuggle into his chest further. Unconsciously, he held me tighter to his body, giving me more of his warmth. I didn't want to move, but my core suddenly tightened and made me sit up without waking the man next to me. I felt my legs move and bring me to the balcony window, where I opened the glass and stepped onto the patio. I stared wide-eyed at Diana, who sat cross-legged on the back railing of my balcony, with her glowing red eyes staring upon me. I opened my mouth to object, but Diana stopped me.
Before you get all huffy, I didn't come here to take your precious man away. By the way, how was it exactly? Demons are the best lovers, after all.
I glared. What do you want, Diana?
Well, I just wanted to see how you truly feel. You know, without him around to influence you.
What are you talking about?
I'm giving you an opportunity to come clean about these feelings of yours, and to give you your salvation.
What was Diana up to? This was beyond crazy. Nothing she had done to make any sense. Why was I still alive at this rate? What's keeping you from just killing me and taking them?
You are not worth my time.
Not worth your time? Why, are you afraid something might happen? At once I felt my body being lifted into the air and moved over the pass railing, leaving me with nothing but the ground below to threaten me with a collision of death.
Oh, trust me, dear. I'm not afraid to kill you. I can drop you right now and leave your body to rot until the morning, when the boys would find you.
I wanted to speak, but the thought of letting her go and letting me fall to my death scared my voice into silence. Diana then chuckled and wheeled my body back to the balcony and setting me down.
Alas, if I kill you, then the boys would never come with me willingly back to the demon world, and then I'd have to chase them all around the world, or kill them and drag them back. But then their father wouldn't be happy, and blah blah blah. Too much work.
Diana seemed very business-orientated, as if the boys were cargo more than men. It irked me, but then she smiled.
I'm giving you one chance to denounce your love for the demon in your bed, and let me take him and the other boys back to the demon world.
And why, may I ask, would I do that?
There are so many reasons why, actually. There's the reason that he's a demon and you're a human, so you two can never truly have a happily ever after. Then there's the reason that demons truly do not know how to love, despite what he may proclaim. The list goes on and on. The point is, if you give me the boys, I will promise you eternal happiness.
Eternal happiness?
That's right. I have the power to give you anything you desire. Power, men, women, money, fame. Name it, and it's yours. A demon never goes back on their word, and I have the power to obtain anything you wish. Our deal is our contract.
I could only stare in shock. This was a dream. It had to be. However, Diana smiled almost genuine smile at me, shaking me to reality of the situation. She would never smile like that.
Don't you wish to be free of your destiny? Your father constantly berating you to become the next CEO of your grandfather's company.
How did you... I almost floored in surprise. How didn't Diana know all about this? She was a succubus, yes, but how could she know everything about Diana's sexual desire? She wasn't Damien. Diana chuckled and leaned back against her arm.
Just because I play with hearts and sex doesn't mean I don't know my way around the human mind. You happen to be an open book of information, but I digress. I can give you your freedom with ease. It'll be like you were always meant to have it. All I ask is that you hand over the boys. What do you say?
Was I seriously being given this choice? The man I loved for anything I wanted? A demon like Diana was powerful enough, yes, but did I even want to consider giving the man up I loved? No. She must have been crazier than I thought, I glared. Absolutely not. Diana sighed and stood up on the railing. What I wasn't expecting was her lifting me into the air. I tried to scream, but my voice suddenly became locked in silence. What was Diana doing? Diana made me float over to her, and she smirked as we touched noses.
Well, if I can't return home with the boys, I might as well return home with the power to fight back.
Diana finally leaned in and kissed me. I shut my eyes, feeling the need to bite her lips, but finding no muscles in my face, listening to my mental complaints. What did she do to me? I didn't want to enjoy it, but every single nerve in my body was flaring in excitement and pleasure as she kissed me. I felt my energy drain slowly but forcefully from my body. Was she using her magic to force my energy out of my body? It seemed like forever, but finally Diana pulled away from the kiss with a smile and licked her lips. She lowered me back onto the patio and chuckled. For some reason, even then, nothing seemed to be changed. She looked stronger, powerful. It was almost like looking at her new Diana. Diana then stepped back off the railing, making me catch my breath in my throat. As she took another step away from me, she looked simply walking in the night air. Diana smirked at my sudden surprise.
May you never regret your choice, human. If you do, I'll happily come and take it away.
With a flick of her hair, Diana turned and walked away into the night, fading into the darkness like a shadow. I watched her fade away before looking back into the man in my bed. Did I make the right choice? My heart gave a gentle thump, giving me my answer. I did, and I will never regret it for as long as I live. I walked back inside and gently crawled back into bed, within the embrace of the safest arms I knew. I snuggled back close to the warmth before closing my eyes. I was happy. The rest of the story can almost be passed over. With Diana gone, my life returned to normal, with school and friends not remembering what had happened. It was as if the magic never even appeared in my world. One thing was certain, however: Matthew loved me and I loved him just as much. We had promised our lives to each other, and nothing was going to take that away from us, not even time itself. Our love was so powerful it practically overwhelmed me with joy every time I found him holding me close every morning. To think, a demon in love with a human like me, it was unthinkable, unbelievable. It was practically impossible. But it was true. The other boys decided to leave of their own accord. They knew that my future would only need Matthew at my side, so they each decided to find their own lives in the human world. Matthew understood perfectly, wishing his brothers the best. Besides, Matthew had proven to be the man by finding someone to care for. His brothers didn't need to worry about him now that he was caring for me. I felt bad as well for being closer to Matthew than the others, but they reassured me that I was okay, and that they would remain nearby should I ever need them. I was happy for that. They made me promise, however, that I would love Matthew for as long as we lived. The promise was instantly given. But what of my future? Well, it's kind of made for me. Before I graduated, James decided to step into the light of the Anderson Company Coys, and with the help of his demon powers and leadership charisma, he managed to influence not only the entire board, but my father as well in letting him run for CEO. I was beyond shocked how James managed to do all that. Was beyond me. But when the vote was called, James had taken over the company, and I was destined to have. He vowed to respect the wishes of the late CEO and help the company become an even greater company. For a demon, it was simple: just make a company grand. My grandfather would have been proud to see how James helped it shine. With the CEO position filled, my father had no choice but to let me decide my future, which made me happy beyond compare. No longer would I have the future staring me in the corner. I would choose my own life. That being said, I was still scared of where the future was going to take me. What did I want to do? Did I want to help James build the company? Did I want to venture off on my own? Matthew reassured me that he would support me and help me through whatever I decided to do. I was so grateful and would never forget that promise. I was happy, and nothing could shake me down from my happiness. One afternoon, a good couple of years after the boys and I had met, I had a moment to myself, so I wandered around my house and took in all that had happened. As if it was all a dream, the demons, the devils, the magic, it was all surreal to believe. It almost frightened me to think that it could all have been a dream. But the warm feeling in my heart reminded me that it was all real. The demons, the magic, the love I had, all real. I smiled as I held my hands to my chest, releasing in the feelings dancing with my soul. I let out a happy sigh before looking up and seeing where I had wandered off to. I realised that I was standing in the dining room. I stopped at the smell of baked goods. Taking a giant whiff, I let the smell of sugar and sweets fill my senses. Matthew must be baking again. I tiptoed over and peeked in the kitchen, wanting to know what he's making.
Almost done.
I watched as Matthew started to decorate an already wonderful-looking cake. With blue and white frosting, it looked delicious. I was practically starving. However, as I watched him, I smiled. He looked so concentrated on his work, it was adorable.
And there! Perfect!
Matthew stepped back from the cake, allowing me to see his masterpiece. It is indeed perfect. I wanted to taste it, and soon. That looks amazing, Matthew.
What?
Matthew quickly turned to me in surprise, trying to hide the cake as I laughed.
I'm not done. I mean...
Matthew. I walked over and smiled, giving him a kiss on the cheek before walking around him to the cake. Closely, I looked at it looked more scrumptious. What is it for?
Well, I mean, it's for something pretty important.
I looked at Matthew, raising an eyebrow, as he wrapped an arm around my waist. What is it for?
Guess. I'll give you 3 chances.
Or what? What if I don't get it right?
Then the cake is all mine.
Of course the cake is all yours. Hey, no fair! Instantly I wanted to pull away, but Matthew laughed and dabbed some whipped cream on my nose from a nearly decorated spatula.
It's totally fair. Now just guess.
Is it your birthday? Matthew shook his head.
Nope. Second guess.
Is it an anniversary? Matthew nodded, but before I could cheer, Matthew rotated his hand, gesturing me to continue.
Anniversary of?
I puffed my cheeks. I had memorized facts and lessons, but dates were bad. It was like asking a girly girl when her boyfriend's fart party was. Matthew laughed. before he kissed my cheek, making me puff my cheeks deflate.
It's the anniversary of when we first met.
I had particularly forgotten. He was right. It had been a couple of years since I moved in and met Matthew and his brothers. He threw a party last year for it. How could I have forgotten? I'm definitely through. Matthew. Matthew smiled at me, making my heart flutter and sneeze once again.
I want to celebrate it every year in a different way. Next year will be something extraordinary. For now, though, this cake will do.
I quickly pulled Matthew's head down with my hand and kissed him sweetly, wanting to show him my appreciation with a kiss. He stared at me as if his greatest wish had come true. I fought back a giggle at the sight. Matthew gently pulled me to him, hugging me close to his chest. I nuzzled into Matthew's chest, hearing his gentle heartbeat and mesmerizing its tempo.
I love you.
I love you. Before I could finish, suddenly the cake, which had been sitting silently peacefully on the counter, exploded into a giant mess. Matthew, luckily, was quick enough to pull us back before we got hit with flying cake pieces.
What the?
I looked at the cake to see a very mysterious little creature standing over the cake, triumphant at what it has done. I began to laugh as Matthew grew red-faced.
Simon Tabby!
I quickly rushed over and grabbed Simon, who made a squeak noise in my hand. I was still giggling as Matthew came over and glared daggers at the white doll covered in cake. To calm Matthew down, however, I stretched up on my toes and kissed him softly. Matthew stared, but kissed back, not wanting to let me go without a kiss of my own. I love you, Matthew. Matthew sighed before smiling at me calmly.
I love you too.
I didn't want to wake up from this as if this was indeed a dream. I felt like a feather, not wanting to ever let this man go in my life. There was no words that could describe the emotions within me. I felt joy, happiness, ecstatic high, all at once. Here I was, with the man I would be with forever. With a cake I would delightly in, even in pieces. I had gained the heart of a demon. No, of a man I loved. I vowed to cherish him and love him for the remainder of my days and beyond. Could a demon love a human forever? I knew Matthew would. And that was my happily ever after. End. Matthew's cake. New password, Demon Wall. Yay! Well, guys, that is the end. Yeah. I hope you enjoyed this last episode of Seduce Me Matthew's Route, and I will see you in Seduce Me Sam's Route. So, yeah. Bye! China.